Hi. All right, darling? George, you're going to behave. My name is Francis. My wife is called Dina. Hello, Dina.
Hello.
Hello. And we have a baby son called George. And whoops, we are a family in Oxfordshire who've come to the conclusion that the most useful thing that we can do during the coronavirus outbreak is to have a self-imposed lockdown, a voluntary lockdown, if you will. And in fact, we have been in lockdown since the 24th of February. And it's taken me an age to become a first-time dad at the age of 58. And I'm the world's proudest dad. And that's my son, George. And he's lovely. So what does voluntary lockdown mean? Well, it means that I go out 2 or 3 times a week to shop, and we take very occasional walks in the park, and that's it. Otherwise, we are at home. Oh, and we go out and we do a few driving lessons. You're learning to drive, aren't you? You can say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's it. So why are we in voluntary lockdown? Because we want to survive. I think everybody. This is a riskier disease than people think it is. I'm 58. I was a smoker of, 20 years or something. So it's not a perfect situation, and also it just seems like a very sensible thing to do. We don't want to be part of the problem, and if you get ill, you're going to be part of the problem. It's taken me an age to start a family, and I quite like it, and I would like to carry on doing it. I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm very interested in cause and effect and consequences. I'm not a mathematician, but I do know something about the power of compounding, and it does seem to me that this coronavirus is a maths problem as much as it is anything. And really the maths is very simple, but it's a bit scary. And it's also very easy to break the maths with a few changes of behaviour and mindset. I'm sorry, I'm reading from the pieces of paper. This is my first time ever doing this. One other problem is that we cannot see this virus. And I do think, I'm probably going to use a lot of metaphors here, some of which aren't going to make sense, but if you imagine for a moment that there were 100,000 man-eating tigers on the loose in the countryside, and the government told everybody that they should be very careful and try and avoid them, we would have no problem staying indoors, and that when people did venture out, they would be very careful. These imaginary tigers obviously are impervious to bullets. But we can kill these tigers simply by starving them to death. They need us to survive, but in order to stop them, we have to stand apart. And despite all our social instincts, we need to stop being social, and then the tiger will just die because it won't have any food. Why this thing is being met with such a shrug in the UK is really baffling. I do think that really everyone should be a little bit more concerned than they are, and it's no use everyone saying, that they can't do anything about it, because they can. They really, 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 really can. So that is what we're doing. That's what we hope we're doing. We are engaging in social distancing. Social distancing. There we go. Social distancing. And this is a phrase that you're going to hear bandied around a lot. This is going to be a buzzword that's going to be out and about. So how long are we going to do that for? I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that. I am concerned that even though there's a lot of evidence that shows that this thing can be contained, and if not contained, then the spread can be slowed, that everyone seems to have thrown their hands in the air. Whoops. Is that all right? Don't worry, leave it. Don't worry. and said that it can't be done. And I think that's not true. And I just think, we have to try. We have to try. There also seems to be a big cultural problem with dealing with the virus. Every country in the world is thinking, look, we know how China did it, but we'll do this in our own way. And that's all well and good. In the UK, the leadership seems to be suggesting that we should just carry on. We should wash our hands and carry on, and that isn't going to be good enough. And the reason for that is that the virus does not respect boundaries or cultures. It doesn't care that you take a siesta in the afternoon, that you wear a pith helmet, that you eat all the pasta. It will simply, the virus will deal with everyone in the same way by infecting everyone. Yeah. I hope as well this won't be the last video. We'll be doing lots on what our experience has been to date, because we've been doing this for 2 weeks, as I said, and we'll give tips on hygiene, on cooking, on all kinds of things, on what we do when we go out. And we do go out, but we treat the world outside as toxic and infected. Whoops, little boy. Little boy. Mum, don't let him knock that stand over, will you? Good boy. Yeah, we treat the world outside as toxic and infected, and we act accordingly. And we treat this house... That's a good noise. That's a good noise! Darling, can you grab him? We treat this house like an operating theatre. In other words, in the house, we try not to let any infection come into this house. And we do everything that we can. And we'll be passing on tips and tricks about how to do that. Darling, can you just grab him? Because he's going to knock the camera. Just grab him. Yeah? Yeah, where was I? Yeah, we'd like this video channel to be a place where we discuss and disseminate the best knowledge that's around on how to stay safe, on to how to act in a safe and responsible manner, both at home and when you're out. And for people to contribute ideas. We want it to be a place where the truth is told about what you can do to make your life safer, and the life of your family and the life of your friends, and for you to be, as I said, not part of the problem. Hello, Jolene, can you grab him? Can you grab him? Okay. Yeah, and so that when you go out, we're very privileged. I won't beat about the bush. My mother died a couple of years ago, and so we can afford to be at home for a few weeks. And I know that's not the case for everybody, and we're very lucky. But I think as well there are things that you can do when you go out to create your own personal lockdown, your own personal space around you, which is impervious, that you don't share with any other human being apart from your immediate family. And you've got to start doing that now. It's absolutely vital. So everything that is essential to the to maintaining life at its most basic. So food production, food distribution, NHS, police, hospitals, all of that thing. All of those things. That obviously has to carry on. I'm not involved in any of those industries. If I was, then I'd be out there. But the most useful thing that I can do and that my family can do is to get out of the way. Because if you're out And if you're going to the cinema and you're going to concerts and you're socialising and you're going to cafes and you're going to using public laboratories, you're upping the probability that you're going to become part of the problem. So you should simply get out of the way, and you should practice social distancing. The other thing, it seems to me, is that we are so behind the game in this country. We need to create a fire break around this thing. We need to anticipate and jump ahead. We need to break the maths problem, yeah? And the maths problem is so breakable. And again, I will be coming back to all these silly slogans that I wrote down on these pieces of paper in later videos and exploring them in more detail. But every individual can make a difference by practicing social distancing. Counterintuitively, that is being proactive. Rushing around uselessly really could be very harmful. Very, very harmful. And here's another silly slang. Don't be part of the problem. If you drive fast, don't end up in an accident. If you're doing something dangerous and you'll be fed off, don't. Oh, little Georgie Porge! Don't end up in the hospital, because the hospitals will be needed for other people. So where are we? I've nearly finished, I promise. And if you can, and you're not essential to industries that support life at its most basic, the best place for you really is at home. The virus needs to be cut off from its food supply, and you're protecting yourself and your family by being at home, and you're also making a contribution to the protection of society by not getting sick and becoming a vector for this. I know I have gone on a long time, George, haven't I? You're protecting yourself and your family and society by not getting sick and not becoming a vector for this disease. Now, I heard somebody on the radio who put it so brilliantly that we need to tackle this thing together, alone. Together, alone. Yeah? Together, alone. We need to practice this thing together, alone. And that just seemed so correct. We all want to be together. We're social beings, but the only way, counterintuitively, is we have to do this on our own, but we have to all do it together. And there'll be another video tomorrow, maybe sooner. Together, alone, then. Yeah. Oh, and we've been given a bum steer. Don't shake anyone's hand. And wash your hands, yeah? There's a few links underneath which I would implore you to watch. I would implore you to watch the links underneath. One of them is very, very long. It's from the World Health Organization, but it's absolutely essential. And the World Health Organization still, even at the 11th hour, are optimistic that this thing can be done. So there we are. Yeah. Don't shake anyone's hand. Yeah, we can stop it. And wash your hands. They're quite right about that. Bye for now.
Try to be even-handed at that. Everybody was fair game. Well, anyone who deserved it, as it were. Perhaps that's rather.
Yeah.
Are you helping me, George? Are you?
Well, I always
That's not really
say,
helping me.
I
Sit, darling.
take
No. Oh, yeah. All right. No. Right. Okay. And stop, darling.